She tried again with new ropes.
She poured out her heart to God in the silence of the evening.
Then a messenger from the Lord appeared with a promise that would change Israel's history. The angel announced that she would bear a son set apart for God from birth.
This child would begin to deliver Israel from the power of the Philistines. Before she could fully understand the message, the heavenly visitor departed. She hurried home to tell her husband everything she had seen.
Manoah listened carefully as his wife described the messenger of God.
He asked the Lord to send the messenger again and teach them how to raise the promised child.
God answered quickly, and the angel appeared once more.
She ran to bring Manoah to the place where the messenger stood.
Manoah bowed with reverence before the mysterious visitor. He sought guidance for the child who had not yet been born. The angel repeated that the child must be dedicated to God all his life. Manoah prepared an offering to honor the Lord.
As the offering burned, the fire became brighter than any ordinary flame.
The messenger of the Lord rose into heaven in the flame of the altar. Overwhelmed by the miracle, they fell to the ground in fear and worship. They realized they had witnessed a messenger sent directly from God.
The promise began to unfold, and hope returned to their home.
Manoah prepared for the child with a thankful heart.
Each day reminded her that God had remembered her. The women of the village shared in her growing joy.
Under the quiet stars, the household waited for the appointed time.
When the time came, the house filled with urgent but quiet activity.
The promised child was born, and they named him Samson. From his first breath, Samson was dedicated to the Lord.
His father knew this child carried a calling far greater than their family. His hair would remain uncut as a sign that he belonged to God. The child grew, and the blessing of God rested upon him.
Even as a small child, Samson was full of unusual energy.
People began to notice strength far beyond his age.
Tasks that challenged grown men seemed easy for the young boy. The Lord was quietly preparing him for greater battles ahead.
As he grew older, Samson looked out over a land living under Philistine pressure.
The enemy's presence was a constant reminder of Israel's suffering.
Samson's strength continued to increase with every passing year.
His mother remembered the angel's words and wondered how God would use her son. The vineyards of Zorah became the backdrop of Samson's youth. His strength often brought help to those around him. Stories about the strong young Hebrew spread through the region. Yet Samson often sought solitude beneath the night sky. In quiet moments, he turned his heart toward the God who had called him. Manoah taught Samson the ways of the Lord and the meaning of his dedication. Samson listened carefully, though a restless spirit was already growing within him. He possessed not only strength, but remarkable speed and agility. Beyond the hills lay Timna, a Philistine city that would soon change his life. One day Samson set out toward Timna, following a path he did not yet understand. The journey began peacefully among the vineyards. Then a sudden movement broke the silence. A lion sprang from the vines and charged directly at him. Samson did not run from the danger. He met the attack with his bare hands. The battle was fierce and desperate among the broken vines. Empowered by the Spirit of the Lord, Samson defeated the lion. The young man stood alone, astonished by what had just happened. He kept the victory to himself and continued his journey. At last, the city of Timna appeared before him. Samson entered the Philistine city and watched the life of Israel's oppressors. There he saw a woman who captured his attention immediately. The sight of her stirred a desire that would shape the next chapter of his life. As night approached, Samson returned home with his mind fixed on the woman from Timna. He told his parents that he wanted the Philistine woman to become his wife. His parents were troubled by the choice, but Samson would not change his mind. With determination, Samson prepared to return to Timna. This time, his parents traveled with him toward the Philistine city. As they neared the vineyard, Samson remembered the place where the lion had fallen. He left the path for a moment and returned to the place of the battle.
Inside the lion's remains, a swarm of bees had made its home.
Fresh honey filled the place where death had once been. Samson gathered the honey and ate it as he returned to his parents. He shared the honey with his parents, but he did not tell them its source. The road led them onward toward Timna, where celebration, betrayal, and conflict were waiting just ahead. Samson arrived in Timna, unaware that this journey would ignite a chain of conflict. The city was preparing for a great wedding celebration. Samson's heart remained fixed on the woman he had chosen. His parents watched carefully, still uncertain about what lay ahead. The feast began with music, food, and the confidence of Philistine nobles.
30 Philistine companions were assigned to stay near Samson throughout the celebration.
Samson decided to challenge the men with a riddle. He promised a reward if they could solve it within 7 days.
The riddle left the Philistines completely confused.
Samson watched their frustration grow with quiet confidence.
As the days passed, the men became desperate for an answer.
Unable to solve the riddle, they turned to Samson's bride. They pressured her to discover the secret or face terrible consequences.
She began pleading with Samson to tell her the answer.
At first, Samson refused to reveal what he had hidden from everyone.
Day after day, her tears wore down his resistance. At last, Samson gave in and revealed the meaning of the riddle.
She immediately carried the answer to the Philistine men.
Before sunset, the companions returned with the correct answer.
In an instant, Samson understood that he had been betrayed.
Anger surged through him like a storm.
Without another word, Samson left the celebration.
He disappeared into the night, consumed by fury. His anger drove him toward the Philistine city of Ashkelon.
There, Samson struck down Philistine warriors in battle. No soldier could withstand the strength that God had given him. He took their garments as payment for the wager he had lost. Samson delivered the garments and walked away from the feast in anger.
He returned to his father's house, still burning with resentment. Time passed, but Samson's anger did not fade.
Eventually, he decided to return and visit his wife.
Her father stopped him at the door.
Believing Samson had rejected her, he had given her to another man.
The betrayal cut even deeper than before.
She tried again with new ropes.
He captured foxes across the countryside for a shocking plan. He tied the animals together in pairs. Then he fastened burning torches between their tails.
The foxes raced through the grain, carrying fire across the fields. Within moments, the harvest, vineyards, and olive groves were burning.
The Philistines rushed to save their land, but the fire moved too quickly.
A season of labor vanished in a single night.
The Philistine rulers demanded to know who had done this.
They learned that Samson acted because his wife had been given to another man.
She tried again with new ropes.
In cruel revenge, they burned the household with fire.
When Samson saw the smoke, his grief turned into a deeper fury. He swore that the Philistines would not escape judgment. Samson struck the Philistines with devastating force. The enemy could not stand before him and began to flee. She tried again with new ropes. He took refuge among the cliffs, alone with his thoughts.
Meanwhile, the Philistines assembled a large force to capture him. Their army camped near the land of Judah and prepared for war. The men of Judah were terrified by the enemy's presence.
3,000 men of Judah went up to speak with Samson. They found Samson standing calmly among the rocks.
They begged him to stop bringing trouble upon the nation. Samson agreed to be handed over, but only if they would not kill him themselves. They bound him with new ropes and began leading him down the mountain.
Bound and surrounded, Samson was taken toward the waiting Philistine army. The Philistines rushed forward, certain that Samson was finally their prisoner.
But the story was not over, and the moment of greatest danger was about to become a moment of astonishing power. The Philistines rushed forward, believing Samson was finally defeated. Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson.
The ropes broke apart as if they had been burned by fire. Both friend and enemy stared in astonishment.
Samson reached for the only weapon nearby.
With a donkey's jawbone in his hand, he prepared to face the army.
Instead of fleeing, Samson ran toward the enemy.
The first ranks collapsed before his strength.
The jawbone became a weapon of terror. The enemy tried to surround him, but Samson broke through every attack.
His strength seemed beyond anything human. Every charge against him ended in confusion. The valley became a scene of complete disorder. At last, the Philistine force was shattered. The victory was complete, But Samson was utterly exhausted. He cast the jawbone away after the battle. The heat and the struggle left him desperate for water. In his weakness, Samson cried out to God.
God answered by opening a spring in the wilderness. Fresh water poured out where there had been only dry stone.
His strength returned as he drank from the spring.
The place became a reminder that God had sustained him. Samson judged Israel for many years during a time of constant tension.
His victories made him a feared enemy of the Philistines.
Yet Samson's greatest battles would not be fought on open fields. One night, Samson traveled to the powerful Philistine city of Gaza.
She tried again with new ropes. They shut the gates and prepared an ambush for the morning. But Samson did not wait for dawn.
At midnight, he walked straight toward the city gate.
He seized the gate with his bare hands. The entire gate was ripped from its foundations. He carried the gate away on his shoulders.
The guards found the city standing open and unprotected.
Step by step, he carried the burden up the mountain.
By dawn, the gate of Gaza stood far from the city, a humiliating sign of Philistine weakness.
She tried again with new ropes.
Later, Samson entered the valley of Sorek.
She tried again with new ropes. Samson was drawn to her beauty and charm. The Philistine rulers saw an opportunity to destroy their greatest enemy.
They offered Delilah a fortune to discover the secret of his strength.
Delilah agreed to help the rulers of the Philistines. Samson trusted the woman who was secretly working against him.
Delilah began searching for the source of his strength.
At first, Samson treated her questions as a joke. She tested his first false answer while enemies waited nearby.
She tried again with new ropes. The bindings broke apart with almost no effort. The waiting soldiers were stunned by his strength. She tried again with new ropes. She tried again with new ropes. Once more, the ropes were torn apart. A third test involved the 7 locks of his hair. She tried again with new ropes. She tried again with new ropes. Delilah realized that Samson was still hiding the truth.
Day after day, she pressed him for the secret. Her persistence slowly wore down his resolve.
At last, Samson's heart began to give way. He was about to reveal the secret he had guarded since birth. Samson confessed that his uncut hair was the sign of his dedication to God. For the first time, Delilah knew the real secret of his strength.
She secretly called for the rulers of the Philistines.
The rulers returned, convinced that victory was finally within reach. Trusting Delilah completely, Samson fell into a deep sleep.
As Samson slept, a servant moved in to cut the 7 locks of his hair. The sign of his lifelong dedication was being removed. With the final lock, Samson's strength began to leave him.
Then Delilah signaled the soldiers waiting nearby.
Samson rose, expecting another easy escape. She tried again with new ropes.
Samson had fallen, and the Philistines finally had their prisoner.
She tried again with new ropes. She tried again with new ropes. Then came the moment of terrible humiliation.
Samson was blinded, and darkness became his new world.
She tried again with new ropes. She tried again with new ropes.
Day after day, he walked the same painful circle.
In the silence of the prison, Samson began to reflect on his life. And slowly, his hair began to grow again. She tried again with new ropes.
Meanwhile, the Philistines prepared a great celebration. Thousands gathered at the temple of Dagon to celebrate Samson's capture. They believed their God had delivered Samson into their hands. The guards came to bring Samson out for public humiliation.
She tried again with new ropes. The temple was filled with rulers, soldiers, and thousands of spectators. Samson was brought to stand between the two central pillars. A young servant was told to guide the blind prisoner. She tried again with new ropes. His hands searched the stone as his mind searched for God. Around him, the celebration grew louder and more reckless. In that moment, Samson prayed for strength one last time. She tried again with new ropes. She tried again with new ropes. The rulers looked around in sudden confusion.
Samson pushed with every ounce of his strength.
One of the great pillars began to move. Then the second pillar gave way.
Panic swept through the temple as the roof started to collapse.
Stones thundered down as the temple fell. The temple of Dagon collapsed in a single catastrophic moment. When the dust settled, the celebration had become a ruin. The Philistines stood stunned before the destruction.
Word of the disaster spread quickly across the region.
Samson's family came to Brunkway. Samson's family came to bring him home.
They searched through the ruins for the fallen judge of Israel.
They carried Samson away from the ruins of Gaza. The long journey home began through the hills of Israel.
They brought him to the tomb of his father, Manoah.
There, Samson was laid to rest among his own people. A new day dawned over the hills where Samson had been born.
The spring that God opened in the wilderness still flowed through the rocks.
She tried again with new ropes. Travelers would remember the day and the temple of Dagon fell.
Samson's life was marked by miracles, victories, failures, and mercy.
She tried again with new ropes. But in his final moments, Samson turned back to the Lord. She tried again with new ropes.
And though Samson died that day, his story would be remembered for generations as a warning, a tragedy, and a testimony to the power and mercy of God. Samson's story remained a reminder of strength, weakness, and God's mercy. For generations, the people of Israel told the story of Samson's victories and failures.
His life was recorded as a warning and a testimony for future generations. In his final moment, Samson found strength when he returned his heart to God.
Even after his greatest failures, God's purpose was not forgotten. The land where Samson walked continued to remember his extraordinary journey. The next generation learned lessons from Samson's life.
His victories became memories carved into the history of Israel.
Samson was a man of incredible power, yet his greatest battle was within himself. The story of Samson remains a powerful reminder that God's strength can shine even through human weakness.